Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamunatira Brahmacārī Yamunatira Brahmacārī Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtoto Tata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtoto Tata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayan Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil. And loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 20th day of April, 2026 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are reading from the 9th canto, Liberation. 19th chapter, King Hayati achieves liberation. Text 17. Matra Swasra Tuhitra Va Naviviktasano Pavet Balavan Indriya Gramo Vidvangsam Apikarshati Matra Swasradu Hitrava Nabiviktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Gramo Vidvangsam Apikarshati Matra Swasradu Hitrava Nabiviktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Gramo Vidvangsam Apikarshati Matra Swasradu Hitrava Nabiviktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Gramo Vidvangsam Apikarshati. Go ahead. Matra Swasradu Hitrava Nabiviktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriya Gramo Vidvangsam Apikarshati. Anyone online to chant? It's not. No, he doesn't chant. Is it possible for you to draw those, or it's too hard?
Prabhu, I can try.
Please do it.
Matra Shastra Duhitra Bha
Matra Swasradu Hitrava
Nabi Bhikta Sano Bhavet
Nabiviktasano Bhavet
Balavan Indriya Grama
Balavan Indriya Gramo
Vidvangsam Apikarshati.
Vidvangsam Apikarshati. Okay, what are the words? Matra, with one's mother. Swasra, with one's sister. Duhitra, with one's own daughter. Va, either. Na, not. Avivikta asana, seated closely on one's seat. Bhavet, one should be. Balavan, very strong. Indriya gramaha, the group of senses. Vidvangsam, the very learned and advanced person. Api, even. Karshati, agitates. Okay. Translation. So this is Yayati speaking his song of renunciation. One should not allow oneself to sit on the same seat, even with one's own mother, sister, or daughter. For the senses are so strong that even though one is very advanced in knowledge, he may be attracted by sex. Purport. Learning the etiquette of how to deal with women does not free one from sexual attraction. As specifically mentioned herewith, such attraction is possible even with one's own mother, sister, or daughter. Generally, of course, one is not sexually attracted to his mother, sister, or daughter, but if one allows himself to sit very close to such a woman, one may be attracted. This is a psychological fact. It may be said that one is liable to be attracted if he is not very advanced in civilized life. However, as specifically mentioned here, vidvangsam apikarshati. Even if one is highly advanced, materially or spiritually, he may be attracted by lusty desires. The object of attraction may even be one's mother, sister, or daughter. Therefore, one should be extremely careful in dealings with women. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was most strict in such dealings, especially after he accepted the sannyas order. Indeed, no woman could come near him to offer him respect. Again, one is warned herewith that one should be extremely careful in dealings with women. A brahmacārī is forbidden even to see the wife of his spiritual master if she happens to be young. The wife of the spiritual master may sometimes take some service from the disciple of her husband, as she would from a son. But if the wife of the spiritual master is young, a brahmacārī is forbidden to render service to her. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer humble obeisance unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So the torchlight of knowledge, we chant every morning when we give class, recognizing the great and essential factor of the spiritual master to open one's eyes so that you can really see reality. Otherwise, you continue to be victimized by your attraction to Maya, to illusory happiness, such as this sex life, uncontrolled, unconstrained sex life. So this verse Prabhupada would sometimes quote how careful we have to be with the objects of the senses. Because, as Prabhupada would often quote, how does that verse go? You know, Maya is right there and she's ready to grab you. It's in the, how's it start? Yeah, Buli, yeah, Krishna Buli say Jiva Nadi Bahimukha. Yeah. How's the second line start? Teva Maya Tare is Dukkha. So, Krishna Buli, someone will, forgetting Krishna and turning away from Krishna, being attracted to Maya, Maya is ready to grab you. As soon as you forget Krishna, as soon as you allow anything that's Maya, you know, that can attract you, you allow that to happen, then you'll forget Krishna, and Maya is right there ready to grab you and throw you down into illusion. Right? That's the idea. And it's a fact. That's how we came here. This verse is one of my favorite verses. Those who heard me give class probably heard it. Bhayam dvitiya banabeshitakshyad ishadapetasya viparhiyo osmati tanmahayato buddha abhajetam bhaktyakayesham gurudevatatma. What is the central quality of illusion, of being entrapped in Maya? Fearfulness, or fear. Why is fear? Because you've lost your protection from Krishna. You've turned away from him. What this verse says is, Bhayam Vriddhiya Banabeshik Syat. Bhayam comes into being. You're affected by fear. When you become absorbed in the dualities of the material world. This is pleasurable, this is painful, let me avoid that, let me get that money so I can buy that. So that's the absorption. And that mentality is accompanied by Isha Apetasya, turning oneself away from the Isha, from Lord Krishna, one's face away. So in other words, forgetting him. Viparhiyo asmati. Viparya means me reverse. Instead of becoming a servant of Krishna, you try to become a master of the material energy, which is Krishna's position. And therefore, asmati, you forget everything. You forget your past lives, you forget who you really are, you certainly forget Krishna. And this is the condition of the conditioned soul, is the nature. And asmati tanmahayato, by the influence of Maya. So one has to be buddha, intelligent. Thank you. Okay. And what's the remedy? Abhajetam, to turn back to Krishna and start worshipping him. In other words, the remedy for all this is devotional service. How? Bhakti Aikayesham means with one-pointed devotion, with serious devotion. Bhakti Aikayesham, Guru Devatatma. And actually seeing one's guru, one's spiritual master, as one's Lord and representative of Krishna. So that's in a nutshell. That verse describes the material condition, how we got here, and how we can get out. So the Bhagavatam repeats this lesson in various ways, and we're now hearing the song of renunciation, if you will, of Yayati. After he did just the opposite thing, and he induced his very nice son, was it Puru, I think, who gave him his youth. And it mentions there, I think, when we read that part, that he knew that he would get it back again, and we'll see in the next few verses that Yati then gives him back his youth, take back his old age, and then goes to the forest and renunciates. So here, the present verse is illustrating how powerful Maya is, even in the presence of one's own mother or sister or daughter. If one allows oneself to associate in such, sitting next to her on a chair, then the senses are so strong, Maya is so strong that one's intelligence can be covered and you become attracted, which is obviously wrong. You don't want that. It's a shameful thing, but that can happen because the senses are so strong. Balavan Indriya Gramo Vidvangsam. Vidvangsam means someone who is learned, very learned and advanced with Vidvan. So all your learning can be overcome by the power of sense gratification if you're not intelligent enough to avoid the temptations. That's the point. And this is why, the life of a brahmacārī, who can join the brahmacārī ashram, there are all these restrictions. How association with women, talking with women, now you could be, you never talk with women, but you got your phone there. The phone can be your portal to degradation, very easy. So therefore the intelligence has to be strengthened. Now I wanted to share some verses from Prahlad Maharaj, because I was thinking of this as I was studying. His father, was Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyakashipu, wants to know, how did you become a devotee? What is this going on? And so he says, don't worry, father, you won't become a devotee. Matir na Krishne padatak svatova mito bipadjeti griha vratanam adanta gobhir vishatam tamisram punak punascharvata charvananam. Now that last line should be familiar to the famous chewing the chewed, again and again chewing the chewed. So here he's saying matir na Krishne. Here's the, that's the theme of the verse. Here's someone who doesn't place his mind on Krishna, can't be Krishna conscious. Matir is the mind, na Krishne. Padatak Swadova, either by coming to the temple, hearing a class, associating with others, Padatak Swadova, mito abhipadya griha vratanam, or in association of others. If he's in this situation, adanta gobhir, if he allows his senses free rein, his senses are uncontrolled. Vishatam tamisram, entering further and further into darkness, into ignorance and illusion. And they're characterized by punak punascharvata charvananam. Now what did Yayati do all these years, with his young wife? He was chewing the chewed. He was having sex, and it was basically the same thing again and again, but he's trying to find new taste in it and trying to relish. So, so Prahlad describes such a person in the next verse, which was often quoted. Nate vidu, te meaning those who are gross materialists, whose senses are out of control, like that. And is again and again trying to relish what he just relished. So, nate vidu svarta team hi Vishnum. So now he gets into this, talking about svarta. Arta means value, something of value. Oftentimes money, literally wealth. Dharma, arta, kama, moksha. But it really means a purpose that you have, something that you're striving for. But what is your swa-arta? See, this is swarta, means what is the goal of the soul? What is the real? Because we establish goals to get that really are to our detriment, they're not to our betterment. In other words, I want this money, I want this position, I want this fame, and all of that is just more and more entanglement in Maya. It's not really to your benefit. So they don't know. Those who are, the previous verse in Grihamedi life, material life, they don't know that the real goal is Vishnu. Nate vidu swartikatimi Vishnum. Instead, durashiyaye bahirartamanina. They look at bahirat, external goals they're looking for. And durash, very difficult to attain. You see, durashya means they strive, if I could only be the Olympic champion of, pole vaulting, and so whatever it may be. Durashe bahir artamanya, their minds are completely absorbed in these external, difficult to attain goals. So what's the result? Bahir artamanya, andaya tandaya, upaniyamana. So you got the blind leading the blind. Because after all, everything depends on your intelligence, what you think is valuable, you see. And if the intelligence is under the control or the sway of the mind full of material desires and the senses, then you got the lower self controlling the higher self. Where Krishna says right in the Bhagavad Gita, you got to control the lower self by the higher self. So by strengthening your intelligence, by hearing, and that'll be explained in the next verse, one can control the lower self and come to the point of the real detachment, where it's not even something that you have to grit your teeth for. It's that, as Prabhupada quoted in the previous verse, famous verse, Yadavadi mama chaita Krishna pada aravinde by Yamunacharya. When I'm thinking, a thought comes during his days when he was the king, when he was enjoying all kinds of harem, whatever he had. When it comes up, I spit at the thought. It's not like, oh, I'm tempted to go. No, there's no. It's like you're absolutely against it. You don't have any desire anymore. That's the whole point. So he says, Andaya tandaya rupandiyamane. For your guidance, you're studying or you're hearing from other materially attached persons who very eloquently describe the glories of this sense gratification. In other words, you don't have proper association. And so they say, both the advisors, the blind advisors, and the blind students, they remain tightly bound up by the ropes of Maya, of the three gunas, if you will. So what's the solution? So then he gives the wonderful solution. He says, Naisham matis tavat uru. So it's all about how to place the mind on Krishna. Hiranyaka said, but where did you get all these ideas? Because he's still puzzled by how he became a devotee, right? He was instructed in the womb and everything. So he got the association of a great soul. That's what this verse is about. Naisham matis tavat uru kamangrin. That this is tavat yavat. Unless one does this, you won't get this. Naisham matis tavat uru kamangrin spishitjanata bhagamo yadarta. Now I love this phrase. Yadartam tavat uru kamang spishitjanata bhagamo yadarta. The goal of getting rid of all unartas. You see? The arta of getting rid of the unartas. That's what that's a great thing we should want to say. So naisham matis tavad urukramangrim. Urukramangrim means the lotus feet of Krishna. Urukram. That's the name for Vamana. Urukramangrim spishat yanarta bhagamoyara. Your mind won't be able to touch. You won't be able to think and be absorbed in the lotus feet of Krishna until the next thing happens that he describes. Naisham matis tavat urukramangring spishat janarta bhagamo yadarta mahiyasam paradajobhishekam. Unless you bathe your mind, bathe your head in the dust of foot dust of the great devotees, of the pure devotee. Spishat mahiyasam means the great soul. Mahiyasam paradajobhishekam, foot dust, abhishekam. Nishkinchananam navanitayat, who is free of all material desires. He has no property that he claims, for his own. Navanita yavat. Yes, the yavat comes at the end. And until you do this yavat, you won't get this, which is being able to absorb your mind in Krishna, which will free you from all anartas, beginning with your desire for sex life. So it's very appropriate for this section, because the whole theme here, we went going all the way back to Pururava and his passion for Urvashi, is that it's the dangers of getting absorbed in this primary tool of Maya, to attract you, this sex desire. So we have several examples here, obviously, but Yayati is an interesting case because he knows, and he even predicts, that this is a phase. He goes, he's enjoying this sex life for a long time, but then he's coming to his senses now, and he'll renounce. He'll give the youth back to his son, and then go to the forest. And that we heard in the previous life. Going to the forest means renouncing. Now, literally today, it's not going to really help, if you go alone to the forest and try to make it there, Going to the forest means to associating with devotees of Hare Krishna. Because this is better than the forest. Because you have the perfect, chance to associate with Krishna, who's all attractive, and Krishna's devotees, and Krishna's words as delivered by a pure devotee, which all have potency to cure the disease of material attraction. It's like a disease. It's really a disease of the soul. The soul, in its healthy condition, is fully attracted to Krishna, is taking all of his pleasure in giving pleasure to Krishna. Nothing, what is mine? How can I enjoy separately? That separate enjoyment is what keeps us bound here in birth and death, so much suffering. Because we call it a change up. Maya is the greatest, not a man, but con man. She's conning you. She's trying to convince you of happiness that's really not there. And boy, I get these scam calls all the time, even during Bhagavatam class. And so that's what Maya means. It's illusion, infusing with illusion. It's been going on for millions of births. We can only cure it or go against it in this birth, human birth. Otherwise, we're completely in darkness. The poor animals, what to speak of the trees, they have to go through that and then finally die and then gradually go up. And now we have this rare human form of life. So that's what the Bhagavatam is for. That's what this movement is for. For human beings and the fortunate human beings who, through some exposure to Krishna consciousness, previous life, some good fortune, we have an interest, we have an attraction to Krishna, Krishna's devotees, the holy name, the books, the whole process of devotional service. We're not pure devotees yet, but at least we're curious about it. We want to learn more. And learning, it's understood in the in the Shastra that we read, that when you become, you learn some of the science of devotional service, that then you want to act on it. The point is that it's a call to action, and in many ways a call to non-action. Like here it says, don't sit next to your mother, sister, daughter very closely, because the senses are so powerful that they can overwhelm the intelligence, and you'll do something that you may regret for the rest of your life, So there's all of these other things, rules and regulations, so that we're protected from Maya's, inducements. And at the same time, and that's the same time is so essential, strengthening our attraction for Krishna through chanting and hearing and the sadhana bhakti and all these different things. And that's why it is said, even the moments associated, what is it? Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi, Lava Mata Sadhu Sange, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. The association, Sangha, with a real sadhu. A sadhu is defined, by Kapila Dev, the famous Sadhu Sangashtika, you may have heard. Do you know about the Sadhu Sangashtika, Maharaj? Yes, it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Near the very beginning of Kapila Muni's instructions to his mother, he says, Prasangam madanam pashamatmana kavayo vadu sahesha sadhu shukato moksha dvaram aparvatam. That verse, I put it into a poem. Mundane attraction keeps us tied to birth and death infernal, but love for sadhus opens wide the doors to life eternal. And then he gives a definition, the famous verse, Titikshava karunika suridak sarvadehinam ajata shattavak shanta saravak sarubhushana. Here's some of the ornaments of a sadhu. First is tolerant. Tolerant in both ways. Tolerant of suffering and tolerant of inducements to enjoy. And tolerate. You don't act. And merciful, meaning that you go out and try to give other... Now, it doesn't mention Krishna consciousness in this verse. The next verse describes how you become a sadhu. Very merciful, and this is the quality. Prabhupada, I think, in explaining this verse, he often gives the example of Jesus Christ, who was so tolerant, and he was determined to preach. But Prabhupada himself showed that. He tolerated us, his disciples from the West who often didn't do the proper thing. But and so much, the crossing, coming to America, and then being in America for a year, not really having any success, all of that because he had the order of a spiritual master. that he was determined to try to fulfill. So, Suridak Sarvadehinam, a friend to every living being. The Prabhupada makes the point, and that includes the cows, not just human beings. In other words, you're feeling the kinship, as we're all souls, we're all children of God, and we should try not to give any pain to any living entity. And even more than that, try to induce others to stop giving pain to others. That's the Suridak Sarvadehinam. And because of all this, Ajata Shatravat, you have no enemy. Now in English you have to define what that means, because in English it often means that someone is your enemy. They feel enmity toward you. Look at Prahlad. Prahlad certainly didn't have that. He had, his father saw him as the great enemy, but he didn't see his father as an enemy. He incredibly bravely preached to his father. It's a very famous scene where, at the beginning, where his father is going to school, to Sandanamarka, little demon school. And his father hoped that he was becoming the next leader, you give the whole kingdom to him. So he has him on his lap, smells his head, and said, "What did you learn today, Prahlad? What's the best thing you learned?" And so he talks about being a sadhu. No, he actually used the word sadhu, but he used it to mean the best. It also means the best. Tat sadhu manye asadavarya dehinam sada samudvigna diham asadgrahat hitvatnapatam griyamandakupam vanam gato yadhadamashriyeta. It's the same. He expanded this teaching in the verse first I quoted, Matayuna Krishna Padadaksadova. So he says to his father, the best thing, he doesn't call him father, he calls him the best of the demons. Best for whom? For conditioned souls, for us. Dehinam. Who are sadasamudvigna diyam, whose intelligence is always disturbed. Why? Because we're holding on for dear life to what is impermanent. It's like you're holding on to you're out in the ocean here, and you got capsized, and you got your lifesaver. Okay, well that's good. I at least got a lifesaver, but the lifesaver is leaking, so it's a sut. It's not permanent. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. So that's what he's describing. Every living entity, every conditioned soul is in anxiety because we're faced with death and danger, threefold miseries, all these different things. So, asadgrahat, and therefore, sada samudvigna. Udvigna means disturbed in mind, full of anxiety. That's why this is not Vaikuntha. Asadgrahat. So, what's the remedy? Second half of the verse. Hitvatnapatam griyamandakupam. Again, the materialistic household life, centered on sex life. Give up this material life. Hitva atmapatam, which is a prison house for the soul, which is so, constricting for the soul. Hitva atmapatam griyamandakupam. Then what should I do? He described like a big well, dark well. Vanam gato yad hadamashi. Go to the forest, and it's understood, and go to Vrindavan. Vanam gato yad hadamashayeta. When those last few words was just like a whip on Hiranyakashipu, because then he says, and take shelter of Hari. A Hari who just killed his brother, Hiranyaksha, his arch enemy, So Hiranyakashipu says, where did you learn this? He doesn't blame Prahlad. He looks over at Shanda and Marka. You can imagine this huge demon, We didn't teach him anything. We didn't teach it to him. We don't know where he got it. So there's this whole thing. But from the beginning, Prahlad is preaching to his father. But here in the Sadhu Sangashtaka, Kapila Muni is teaching him, and he's just say, here are the qualities of a sadhu, and how did he get to be a sadhu? By devotional service. How does it go? Okay. Tatikshivakar sudak sarvadema jadash sankta sadhavak sadhavushana mayananyena bhavena bhaktim kurvanti ye dvidham matkate chakta karma not chakta swajana bandhava. So here's how we got the sadhus get to be sadhus. My unto me, he's Kapila Dev, he's Krishna, he's Lord Vishnu. My ananyena bhavena, undeviating devotional service. My ananyena bhavena bhaktim kurvanti ye dvidham, with great determination. And then what's the symptom of that? Matkute chakta karmanas. For me, they'll give up anything they're attached to. Matkute chakta karmanas. Tyakta swajana bandhava. Even their relatives and friends, if there are impediments to devotional service. And that's going into the forest. This is the evidence of the seriousness. But the point is ananyena bhavena, being uninterrupted devotional service. Kurvanti yedadan. And what do they do? Madashika katamrishta shinvanti katayantita tapanti vivadastaban naitan man katachetasa. And how do they pass their time? By absorbing themselves alone or with others, especially in talks about me. Madashriya katamrishta. Kata, which is taking shelter of me. In other words, which is all about me, Krishna. Katamrishta, very sweet to hear. Madashriya katamrishta shrinvanti katayanticha. Hearing and chanting among the devotees. Yeah. And shrinvanti katayanticha. I forget the third line. But the next verse is like the essence of the whole thing. Satam prasangan mama virya sambido pavanti ritkan rasayana kata tadoshanarashu apavarga vartmani shraddharati bhakta anukramishati. This verse we should learn. This is like the description of the Hare Krishna movement. So now he's describing meeting together and glorifying Krishna. Satam prasangan. Notice he used the same word from the beginning. Prasangam majaram pasham. Prasangam means very, tight attachment. Prasangam majaram pasham atmana kavayo vadu. That attachment to matter is what binds you to this world. So we have to get free of that. So here he says, Satam prasangam, amongst the sadhus, Satam is the same as the sadhus. Meaningful association. In other words, getting to associate, glorifying, nice kirtan, the essence of it in this age, especially Sankirtan. I chant, you hear, you chant, I hear the holy name. Or doing what we're doing, Bhagavatam class, reading Krishna book together, sharing Krishna Katha. Mama virya samvido, descriptions about my powerful activities. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido, bhavanti rit karna rasayana katha. So this katha is just like an elixir of nectar-nectarian elixir of life for the ears and for the heart, for the mind. Bhavanti rit karna, heart and the ears. Rasayana kata, life-giving elixir kata. Tadjoshanarashu, engaging in this practice quickly, without too much delay. Abhavarga vartmani, which is the path of liberation. This whole explanation of Abhavarga. This is interesting. Abhavarga. There's the different categories of consonants in Sanskrit, and there's one called the pavargas, right? The labials. So the pa, ba, and ma. There's 5 of them. So each one of them stands for another thing that we want to be liberated from, the negative qualities of this root. So the pa is parishrama, very hard work. The battle for existence in this world is working so hard. So hard, painila, that foam comes from your mouth, like a horse, Probably talks about the horse. Parishama and painila. And then B stands for, can do things, banda or bhyartata. It keeps you bound, bondage. Or bhyartata means, frustration. You're working so hard, but you're really not making it, And then comes bhaya. BH stands for bhaya, fear. And of course, M, what do you think M stands for? Mrityu, death. It all ends in death and you start again, materialize again and around. And mostly, in this age, you lose your human form of life. There's so many things you can do. So, but this is Abhavarga. This is the path of liberation. Sadhu Sangha, glorifying Krishna together, purifying one's intelligence, Vartmani. And so here's the result. Shraddha, ratir, bhakti, anukramishati. Anukramishati means step by step. Your faith is deepened. Just by associating with Prabhupada, just by being in his company, your faith was nourished because you saw here's someone who's completely transcendental, who's tolerant, who's blissful, who's full of knowledge, detached and kind and merciful and everything. He was personifying that. So that gives you faith, that increases your faith in the process, and that Krishna is really there. So Shraddha is the basis of it all. Adhau Shraddha tadak sadhu sangha. This all fits together. So Shraddha ratir, attraction to Krishna, is nourished by this, which is the antidote to all this Maya attraction. That's why Munich says, I spit at the thought when I even think of it. It's not like I'm tempted to do it. It's just disgusting, that which he was so involved in. So Shraddha, Rati, and Bhakti, Prema Bhakti, increases step by step by cultivating sadhu sangha, proper sadhu sangha. But that word prasangam is so important. It means that meaningful, not just going and letting your mind wander here and there, but actually absorbing and taking advantage of it. And in kirtan, really being absorbed in hearing and chanting and entering into the whole mood, And that was Lord Chaitanya's great gift, is that here you don't even have to be a sadhu. Just come into it, and the power of the holy name, sung by real sadhus, will purify your consciousness so that you'll be attracted to Krishna. You want to read that book that's been on your shelf for so long when you met the devotee in the park, Or the book, you get mercy from Krishna, the book falls off the shelf and hits you in the head. We've heard of that happen too. And maybe I should read this book, and it comes a devotee. So the point is that Prabhupada is giving his association through these purports and all of these. And he's giving us the association of who's described here. He makes that point about the Bhagavad Gita. We should always think, we open the Bhagavad Gita, we're actually there with Krishna. He's not different from his words. And so we take advantage of that by hearing, trying to follow, memorizing verses, all of these different things. And the initial, effect is that you lose your taste for Maya. It becomes easier to practice the four regulative principles. It's not like you're gritting your teeth all the time. No. You're not even attracted anymore. There's no question. So that's a sign of the strengthening of the intelligence. So one more verse. This one has a poem attached to it. Then, okay, that's 8:30. So this one you've heard me chant before, but this is a beautiful verse that Lord Chaitanya teaches Sanatana Goswami in the Madhya Lila. There's his teachings to Sanatana, the longest teachings that we have of Lord Chaitanya in the book. And they're in the form of Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. We should know the Sambandha, who is God, who am I, what is this world, how is that's Sambandha, what is the relationship? And then Abhideya, what is the practice by which you can realize it? And then Prayojana is the actual goal, pure love for Krishna. So he's beginning his Abhideya section of how to practice. And then he quotes this verse, which I always give this because it doesn't give a reference, in any of the CCs who wrote this verse. But I once had a book of translations of some transcriptions of lectures by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he said there that this was originally written by Madhavendra Puri. Anyway, here's the verse. Prabhupada would quote it often. Kamadina, you've heard this one a million times. Kamadina katina katita palita durnideshas tesham jata mayana karuna nattapano pushanti utrijaitan hadihadupate sampratam labna buddhis famayatak shadanam abhayam mam niyuk swatma dasye. In how many ways have I sought to, this is perfectly described, this Yayati, and especially Pururava before he saw the light. In how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They've shown me no mercy, yet on I have gone shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting these hellish desires, for my higher intelligence now has awoken. O Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. And that's exactly what is required. The intelligence has to be strengthened by hearing and chanting and trying to follow these instructions and association with devotees. And then one finds, the fortitude to give up these things in the temptations. And then at a certain point it says, are you kidding? I can't even believe I did that. Sometimes my mind wanders a little bit. I remember things I used to eat. Oh God, I can't believe it. Even as a kid, I'll just tell you this little vignette from my own life. I was sitting at the dinner table. It used to be the custom that we'd have, in most houses, dinner together. The husband came back from work, whatever. So, oftentimes we'd have chicken or something like that. So I'm looking, there's the form of the chicken, and my father's carving the chicken. He said, I don't want that poor chicken. I was feeling that this poor chicken had, been alive, so I didn't want to eat the chicken as a child. Somehow, meatballs and things that you couldn't see the cow. Anyway, I didn't have it. But it was just a visceral effect that, But as I got older, I said, it's no big deal. You get accustomed to it. Everybody's doing it. There was no. But if you expose to this, hey, that chicken, was once a living entity, had feelings just like you, and if you actually, Prabhupada tells this story in Calcutta, I think he witnessed this. There was a butcher, and he cut off the head of a chicken, and the chicken was still running around. I think they can do that, and his son was crying because he saw all the pain the chicken was, and the guy was laughing and getting on the case of his son for crying, because he had become so hard-hearted, he didn't have any empathy, So that's condemnation. That's you're headed to hell and suffering from that. Everything counts, So to be saved from that by Srila Prabhupada, not even to see the evil of a society in which millions of cows are slaughtered every year, and so much suffering is going on, and you can see the effect of it. Anyway. But to be in devotional service and to be cultivating it and changing your character because of Krishna's purifying you, that's what we want. And without having to go through all of this scene that Yati had to go through and things like that. We've already been through all that, in previous lives. So let's take advantage of the human form of life and hear the Bhagavatam, all of these wonderful stories, and they're so much philosophy. What does it mean? And Prabhupada is giving us an opportunity to associate in the most meaningful way with Shukadev Goswami. We're hearing the Bhagavatam and all of these great souls that appear here. It's a great opportunity, and we should try to give that good fortune to others, distributing books, trying to get them to chant and hear Hare Krishna. All right, I've gone over time. Any comments, questions? If we have none locally, maybe we have some remotely. Okay. Going once, twice. Sold. All right. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. You're all invited to the evening class, starting at 7:15.